Wow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking precious time out of your busy schedule to join our Zoe Agency first ever English webinar, which means webinar conducted in English. You guys will be laughing. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm originally from China, so I'm fluent in Mandarin, and we've done a lot of webinars in Chinese in the last 3 years after the COVID hit us. And we really grew a book of business with people all over the country, thanks to COVID. It's a bad way to say it, but this is what life is, right? When you have a lemon, what you do? Make lemonade. Anyways, so welcome again, and hopefully this is 1 hour you spend with us is helpful to you. So we are going to, I'm a CPA, and I'm going to talk about how you build your tax-free wealth with an IUL. I believe most of the attendees are my tax clients. So you all know who I am. So I'm going to be skipping my intro really fast. The only thing I want to say is, as a CPA, I always pride myself as a good tax advisor instead of just filing the paperwork for you. To me, more than 50% of my job is strategizing with my clients to come up with tax efficient solutions. But I do want to introduce you to two of my honored panelists. The first one is my good friend, good old friend, Bruce. Yeah, I've known Bruce many, many years, and I will let Bruce to do his own introduction.
Thank you, Justine. Again, my name is Bruce Allen Hirsch. I've been in the insurance brokerage business for over 40 years now, the whole time as brokerage general agent. What that means is I work between agents and insurance companies to help agents provide the best solutions to their clients. I'm independent. My partners and I, we write about $500 million a year now of life insurance with 30 different carriers. So independently, we are the largest independent brokerage source for insurance in this country today. I look at myself as a team member with the agents that I work with and their clients. We work in unison to always try to find the best specific solution for every individual client and try to be very, very company agnostic. And that's me.
Yeah, so Bruce, not just a business partner of mine, and I really appreciate you coming to our first English webinar. And this is my nickname for Bruce. He is a walking encyclopedia for me when it comes to life insurance. So, and I've met a lot of people in my career, and Bruce really know his stuff. And he's most, I would say, the thing that I like you most is you really stand in the client's shoes and really design the best product for them. So this is very much in line with our company's core of providing tax efficient strategies. Thank you, Bruce.
I believe that's my fiduciary responsibility. The responsibility to the client. Same fiduciary responsibility you have as a CPA.
Yes.
That I have the same issues.
Great. And last but not least is our rising star in the Zoe Agency, Lulu. So Lulu, you want to say a few words?
Yeah. Thank you, Justine. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lulu. I'm really appreciate your valuable time today to join our conversation. I've been working with Zoe Agency for many years, and right now focus on personal and commercial insurance risk management, and also for business owners like retirement plan position. So it's my pleasure here today to discuss IUL with Justine and Bruce to tell why IUL will be the best, like a suitable product for everyone with their desired needs for protection or tax-free wealth accumulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lulu. Okay, and Lulu is gonna do some very nice case study for us at the end of this discussion. So, but Bruce, let's do this. There's a slide I forgot to talk about. It's about me, about our agency. I'm gonna be quick. So we are very much in providing tax efficient strategies for our clients. And I think another uniqueness of our company is we don't just give you advice, we also execute for you. That is why I have a real estate arm and an insurance arm. So our real estate arm right now is very much focused on multifamily properties in Chicago, and we're managing over 100 doors right now. And our insurance operations very much focused on the tax efficient strategy on permanent life insurance and the commercial insurance for our small business clients. So I'm done my self promotion. Let's get to the meat of the discussion today. So first of all, I'm going to bring Bruce up to ask you this question. I think any meaningful discussion, the first thing we need to do is what's the definition? We have to know what we're talking about. So Bruce, what is an IUL?
Okay. I think you get onto it on the next slide a little bit.
Okay.
where everything fits in there. Indexed universal life is a form of life insurance. There are two main categories of life insurance. First is term insurance, and that's very easy to understand. You'll typically have a death benefit oriented product that does not accumulate cash, that only goes on for a specific period of time, typically 10, 20, or 30 years. We use that almost exclusively for income replacement and maybe some business needs like buy, sell, cross purchase. Then we have permanent life insurance, and that can be broken into three main camps, even though there's more. And the best way to know how IUL works and where it fits in is to know what's available there with an entire product line. Traditionally, we talk about whole life. This is the first form of permanent life insurance protection. It's still very popular. Whole life insurance is a policy where the premiums are guaranteed for the life of the contract. The death benefit is guaranteed as long as you pay the premiums for the life of the contract. And the cash value is guaranteed to endow, meaning equal the face amount at maturity. So these are very expensive products, but they also may enjoy dividends to improve their performance. So if the company does better than what their guarantees were, they return that to the policyholder as a dividend. Next, on the other end of the extreme, we talk about variable life insurance policies. Variable life insurance policies are, again, life insurance where the investment component is directly in the market. You'll invest in different mutual funds, so you can enjoy market growth, but on bad years, you can also have market losses. So if your Fidelity fund, an example, went up 20%, that's great. You're very happy. But if it goes down 20%, you've lost 20% of the value of your life insurance policy. Indexed universal life is in the middle. Again, you have a lot of flexibility like you have with variable, but instead of being exposed to market losses, you're not directly in the market. You're in an index like the S&P 500. And you can get gain of that index. So if the index goes up, you enjoy the gain. But if the index goes down, like the S&P 500 goes down, you'll have a floor typically of zero. So you won't have
let me intercept a little bit, Bruce. Okay. So yeah, I really appreciate it that you put this in a perspective. So every time we talk about something, it's good to know what they are not, right, Bruce? So
right.
Instead of just what they are. So just kind of summarize what you say is I think some of my clients here might not know life insurance as you know. So the first two big category is one is term, one is perm. And the other way I call term, Bruce, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is temporary.
Correct.
Temporary in that way, it's either 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And like I'm over 50 right now, probably nobody's going to give me a 30-year term, right, Bruce?
You're getting close.
I know.
Let's
say you are in your 60s. So can you go and get a 30-year term at this
Very
point?
difficult.
Yeah. So because what is insurance, right? The probability for someone like Lulu, she's not even 30, in the next 30 years, something going to happen to her. The probability is really, really low. That is why the term life insurance, the cost is very, very low, right, Bruce?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think we just did a quote for someone about 30 years old. I think for $1 million coverage, 30 years is like $600 a year, something like that.
Yeah,
Something
500. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not even a cup of coffee a day. You can get the protection. So that is still a good product, but it's different, a very different product than the permanent, right?
Correct.
Permanent life insurance, the way I see it, is it's going to be there when I die, no matter when I die, right?
That with all the three types, that is the intention. But
yeah,
when you look at term insurance, and I want to finish off what IUL is versus what it's not. But when we look at term insurance, that's a pure expense. Unless you die, you're never getting any return out of the policy. Permanent life insurance is another investment. It's part of your overall portfolio and should be looked at as an investment into your own retirement or a permanent cash value product versus an expense. It really isn't an expense. And
that's a really good way of looking at it, Bruce. Yeah. So we call permanent life insurance LIRP, right? Life Insurance Retirement Plan. That's like an acronym that you guys like to make up.
We love, in the insurance industry, we love our initials like IUL.
Okay.
But continuing with IUL, the upside.
And the
LIRP. But continuing with an IUL, the upside is not a dividend, but it's indexed on an outside indice like the Standard & Poor's 500, the Dow, many other indices, but they all have a zero floor. So you can't lose money in a down year, but you may not get all of the up market. They will typically have caps.
Yeah. So if we look at the next, I think there's a slide talking about this, right? Exactly, Bruce, right? This is what you're talking about.
Right.
So when the market has a bad year,
if you go back to the prior slide, there's a little bit more definition of what an IUL is.
Okay.
And what we've been just talking about. So you enjoy a high degree of safety. You get rid of the volatility of a variable product, but it's not necessarily as expensive and cumbersome as a whole life policy. Now you can go on to the next screen. We talk about how the indices actually work.
Okay. Got you, Professor.
Okay. This is... Lulu, where'd you pull this? This looks like a Mutual of Omaha, or is this
that's a Mutual of Omaha historical data. Yes.
Right. So Mutual of Omaha publishes this within their illustrations. And actually, you can see the S&P returns because that's their primary indice. And what the S&P did, and Lulu very nicely shows all those loss years. But if you're in an index product, you can see those loss years are zero. You lost nothing on your investment. But you'll also see the index currently has a 10% cap on it. So the years where the S&P exceeded 10%, you're limited to that 10%. Those are extraordinary years. But you can see how you've really eliminated those losses. And remember, a 38% loss like you see in 2008, you have to earn more than 38% in a variable product just to get back to even the next year.
No, you actually have to make more than 38%.
That's what I just said. You have to make more than the 38%.
Yeah, that's simple math.
Simple math in there. And then they also have different indices that are available. They have 1 year high participation that was capped at 7. So you can see a lot of those 7. They also have an uncapped account, but you don't get all the return. In their case, you get 50% of the uncapped return. But again, you enjoy the zeros on the bottom.
Yeah, I have a question here for you, which a lot of my clients ask me. They understand whole life is full of guarantees. That's what's really expensive. And the VULs has its downside of when the market goes down. And a lot of my clients says it's a little bit like an oxymoron because you're trying to look into an insurance product that's a little bit safer, but then you invest in the market directly. So you really don't have any protection, right? So that is why IUL is very, very popular. But a lot of my clients actually ask me this question, is that just some BS because just insurance company telling you that's what it is? How is that possible when the market goes down? My money doesn't go down. When the market goes up, it goes up. It's like a fairy tale.
Right.
Well, I know as an expert, you can give us some mechanism behind the scene.
Right. Well, with an indexed universal life, it's technically a fixed product. Variable, you're directly in the market. Indexed universal life is fixed. You're not directly participating in the market. What the company ends up doing behind the scenes is most of their monies are invested in bonds, and they're in double and triple A bonds. Because they are invested for a very long time, they're never in a position where they have to sell the bonds. So they can click coupons and collect their returns on the bonds and hold the bond to maturity. So these are very, very secure investments. The insurance industry is very regulated by various departments of insurance and the feds to make sure that they have adequate reserves. So we talk about capital and surplus reserves. The to get the market returns that we're talking about with an indexed universal life, once they have enough to guarantee those zeros, they take the excess and they go to an investment banker and they invest in options to emulate those returns. And that's where you start seeing caps, where you can't get a 23% return with a zero in there without market exposure. So what they do is they limit the market exposure and they only invest what they can once they've satisfied that 0% return.
So to paraphrase what you said is basically they invest in bond and take the premium from the bond or whatever the money they make to go buy options. And if the stock market goes down, all you lose is the option money, right? But when
Correct.
the stock market goes up, you can exercise your option and then you're gonna participate in the upwards. But that is also why you have a cap. Am I paraphrasing it correctly?
Correct. And the biggest determinants of what the caps are right now are the cost of those options. And if you have a volatile market where you can see great gains and losses like we've seen in the past, that tends to push down on the caps available. If we have a stable market, pricing is a little bit easier and you'll see higher caps. If we're in a low interest rate environment, you also see lower caps.
That makes sense, right?
Moving into a higher interest rate environment, even though it's still volatile, I'm seeing caps slowly climb back up.
Yeah. And the market is quite volatile, right? So another question a lot of my customers ask me, I have a lot of very smart customers, which a lot of them are here today, is so with the cap, will that make the investment return actually lower than the S&P? Or is actually going to be higher because of the floor? And what will be your answer? I know we don't know everything, but I want to see, Bruce, I want to pick your brain. What is your answer to that question?
I actually think you'll end up with probably 85 to 90% of the S&P return.
That's how I feel. I look at the numbers a lot because I'm an accountant. So it really depending on which years you're looking at. That's what I always say. Data can be the most manipulating thing, right, Bruce? You can pick 15 years out of the 30 years and I say, look, it does better than the index. And another person can come in and pick a different 10 to 15 years because the starting point is different. They will say, hey, index doing better. But I think in the long run, I agree with Bruce, it's not functioning as well as index. It's actually a little bit less than index because remember, we do not get the dividend.
Correct. You're losing the dividend and you're losing all those bad years. Timing on bad years are very important. If you have a number of bad years, particularly early in the funding of your policy, and compare an index product to a variable, the index product is going to be much, much better. And it's going to outperform.
But with that, Bruce, I had one client ask me to look at if they put money in 07 or 08, what's going to happen by in 10 years. And it was better than the S&P. I mean, 07 went, you should go into a bad year. But because it's so volatile, you don't know. Nobody knows the future, right? We only know the history. And for the history, we don't want to manipulate it to tell you guys today what is better. But I will stay with Bruce's conservative evaluation that we're going to get 85 to 90%. So now my next question, Bruce. If that's the case, why don't I just buy term and invest in the market? Because I may have a better return, right? That's a question like a lot of my clients ask me too.
Yes, and I get that question on a regular basis, and I'll talk to you about taxes. Although you should really be talking about taxes, but
that is why I'm segue into it.
Right, and life insurance enjoys several tax advantages versus just investing in the market. The first and the biggest is the inside growth with any life insurance policy is tax deferred.
Yes.
So you're not having to deal with, and you can talk to your client's tax brackets, but you're not losing a third of your return to taxes every year on a regular taxable investment. The second part about it is the death benefit is also income tax free.
Yeah, those are all tax
by
codes,
definition.
right?
So when you get $1 million out of the policy, if you were to pass away, aside from potentially growing your estate, there is no taxes on it.
Yeah, that is why my CPA hat is coming back. And that is why I'm a CPA. I'm also a licensed life insurance agent in a lot of states, because I firmly believe life insurance is a good tax strategy. And IUL is one of the best product of all the life insurance, permanent life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce already, took the thunder, talk about the first one, which is according to the tax code, all these, we're talking about the 85 to 90% of the index return you get is tax deferred. And if you manage it well, it's tax free.
Mm-hmm.
If people, you are my clients, I talk about a lot about real estate investment. It's tax deferred all the way until the day I kick the bucket and I take the step up basis tax code, and then it's the whole life of capital gain is what is
tax-free.
Gone. It's
Yeah.
through the thin air. So this life insurance is the same thing. So as long, am I right, Bruce? As long as the policy is there when I die, all the accumulations in there should have been tax-free.
Correct.
Yeah. The only time you walked into a time bomb is if you somehow cancel your policy for whatever the reason. If you are my client, I'm going to talk you out of it, or your policy lapse because you borrowed too much money, you didn't feed into the policy too much. Those are the two situations. If you have taken out the money more than you put it in, then the whole plan just goes collapse.
Right. Your gain would be taxable as ordinary income at that time.
It's worse than capital gain. Give you a really good example. I want to always tell people the bad news, always. Never just tell you the good news.
Let's also talk about taking too much out. And most of the policies that we now have, the modern policies, this is a bigger problem with whole life and older series products. The products that we will be talking about always have what's called overloan protection on there. Which means once you get to like age 65 or 70, depending on the company, if you borrow out all of the money, they'll stop you when there's like $5,000 left and keep the policy in force so that you never have that taxable event.
Yeah, that rider is life-saving. I was going to share I'm going to still share that example. I had a client about 5 years ago. He was in his 90s. And one day he got a huge IS bill. He was not my client before that. He became my client when he brought me that letter. I read it. It's basically he had a whole life policy from the 80s, Bruce. Mm-hmm. And then somehow the policy lapsed. He didn't know. He didn't read the notice. When we are in our 90s, we're not all that together. Mentally, right? Not mentally. What's the word?
I've seen those. I've seen multi-million-dollar tax bills.
He owes the IS 6 figures from that because when the policy lapses, they're going to calculate how much you have taken out and how much you have putting in. So he had a really good whole life policy in the 80s. Those guaranteed rate are much higher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the guaranteed rate is pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same, but I guess the credit rate is good. The current rates were good. So it was so nice all the way along, but he didn't manage his policy well. So I say this bad news just to tell you, like, if you have a professional and a knowledgeable and a capable agent, this should not happen, right? Otherwise, so let's go back to see why IUL is a tax strategy, why I'm a CPA, I'm still, believing life insurance so much, right? So the first is tax deferred accumulation. And some of my clients here, you're at 30, 40, 50 marginal tax bracket, right? Even if your long-term capital gain will be at 23.8 at the federal level, and plus the state is way above 30%. So if you're gonna get 85 to 90% of the index without the paying tax, and the other one you get 100%, but you have to pay tax. If you compare the tax equivalent yield, TEY, you know which one is higher, right? Accumulation in the life insurance is actually much higher. It's like 20% higher. So the higher your tax bracket, the better this product is for you. And the second one I want to talk about is the tax-free distribution that Bruce talked about. The death benefit in IS, the tax code, is completely tax-free. Income tax-free, okay? Income tax-free, not estate tax-free. There's another way to avoid that, but we're talking about income tax right here. And the tax-free distribution is in the IUL is not only on the death benefit. For small business owners, this can be your bank. When you accumulate enough in your policy cash value, this can be your best place to go when you have cash flow problems. There are a lot of what do you call those YouTubers, right, Bruce, talking about creating your own bank.
Right.
Right, you've seen them.
Be your own bank, infinite banker.
yeah, it's very popular in the young people circle. But I think they push it to a little bit, to me, to the extreme, only talking about the good, never talking about the bad. One thing is about the time frame, right, Bruce?
Yes. I am not a proponent of be your own banker or infinite banking. The idea of accumulating money on a tax deferred basis and being able to get it out also on a tax deferred basis is great. But the idea that I'm going to put money in for 3 or 4 years and buy a Mercedes with it, that's not viable. These are long-term commitments. I think Lulu talked about it earlier as got to think about it as a marriage. You're going to be here a long time, at least 15, 20 years, hopefully longer.
Yeah.
So you're not in and out. These are very stable products, and they require somebody that has stability to work with them.
Yes. So the tax-free distribution, but it's actually, you cannot take this concept to the extreme.
Right.
But after you really plant a tree, you put a lot of what do you call fertilizers, you really grow the tree. After 20, 30 years, this tree is going to bear fruit for you. But you can't just expect it to bear fruit for you the next year. It's not going to happen. I read a lot of children's book about, two people, one just throw the tomato seeds and then hope it's becoming a tomato garden, right? It doesn't happen that way. It's a lot of hard work. It's the same thing. But as a business owner, I also had hard times in the past, and I have dug into my own life insurance to borrow money. And in a couple of months, I was able to turn around and then put the money back into the life insurance. And how do I do that? It's basically a manipulative tool. I think you basically don't say you take money out, is you borrow from yourself. And the most insurance company, Bruce, right, after 10 years of accumulation, if you borrow money out, the interest rate is really zero.
It's a wash.
Yeah, it's a wash.
Yeah, they'll charge you to and credit you to for that net zero.
Yeah.
No. In the early years, they're going to charge you to, though, or they may charge you 3.
Yeah.
Which is another reason you don't want to be pulling money out in the first decade or so.
Yeah. So if you borrow from your 401k, you still have to pay an interest rate, right? When you borrow from your life insurance, you don't have to. So
right.
And also another way to use tax-free distribution is, let's say, when am I getting to 60 years old? Hey, I don't want to work anymore. But Social Security, I may want to wait until 70 to get it, right? Because I can get 130%. And longevity in my family. My grandma lived to 107. I'm definitely not going to take Social Security at 62. So I can actually start to take money out of my life insurance policy, because if I was like Lulu, 30 years old, bought a policy, by the time I'm 60, I have enough cash value in there to live for another 10, 20, 30 years. So this is also a good time you can take the money out. It's also tax-free because, again, you're borrowing from yourself. Did I exhaust all the tax-free distribution possibilities, Bruce? Did I miss any?
You touched on an interesting concept about how it affects Social Security. When you have income beyond Social Security, you're paying taxes, and Social Security is taxable. By doing policy loans, that's not taxable income. So
I'm going to give my CPA hat to you, Bruce.
What? Well, I've been, as we said, I've been at this a long time. I also am a numbers person. I have an MBA. I was also a CFP. So
you are totally right. Yeah, you are totally right. So a lot of times, if you have social, like a lot of people say, what do you mean? I pay tax on my tax? Isn't Social Security a tax? Not paying tax on the tax I paid? I say, like, when you receive it, it's a Social Security income, and it can be taxable or not taxable depending on your other income. If your whole AGI is below a limit, then your Social Security is non-taxable. But if you have other income that's taxable, push your AGI to a certain point, your Social Security will be taxable. And Bruce is absolutely right. The tax-free distribution on life insurance is not going to get on your tax return.
It's a loan
because it's not taxable. So it's not going to affect your AGI. Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. The other two things are smaller. So it's from a tax point of view, I have a lot of clients want to put a lot of money into retirement, because most people put a percentage of their income into retirement. So let's say someone makes $500,000. They're not going to be happy with what the IRS allowed them to. So I'm going to quiz you here, okay, Lulu? You
Okay.
though you do insurance, but you are in an accounting firm, so you gotta know. So what's the maximum you can put into a 401k?
It's a $22,500.
Wow, very good. But
Yeah.
Justine and the Bruce can put more because we
Yes,
are
30K more elder. Yeah.
there's something good coming with age, right, Bruce?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And another very good is vehicle is Roth IRA, right? How much we can put into Roth IRA, Lulu?
It's 6,500. But for
Very-
all of you can put 7,000 in here.
7,500. We're gonna do.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
7,500.
yay! That's another good thing. Yeah, I mean, I maximize mine too. A lot of my clients maximize, but that's not enough, right? $30,000, and some of my business owners they can put up to over $60,000 if they are small business owners and they have their own solo 401k. And some of them even have defined benefit. That's like even a bigger topic. But most of my clients are W-2 employees, right? So they want to put more money into retirement. And this IUL, that is why we're having this webinar. The IUL is the best thing for you because there's no annual contribution limit. Though it is a LIRP, life insurance retirement plan, it's not restricted by those 401k Roth IRA limit on the age, on the not just the annual contribution, also age. So the age means if I have a child that's 5 years old and she's not working, I can still do a life insurance for her to start the contribution, but I cannot do Roth IRA because she's not earning money. For a 5-year-old, the only way to earn money is to be a model. Right? I mean, and also there's no age requirement when we distribute, like I said, right? For a retirement plan, you have to wait 59 and a half, but there are a lot of my clients want to retire in their 40s, right? And if you start to fund a life insurance policy when you're 25, by the time you're 45, you already funded for 20 years, you can take that money out. You don't have to wait until 59 and a half. Yeah, I just had a call with a client yesterday. They had to take money from their 401k. It's very painful. You have to pay regular income tax and the penalty. So it's basically 1/3 or 1/2 is taken away from the government take that from you. So it's very, very. So the last one I want to touch upon from a tax point of view is estate planning. Bruce is actually an estate planning expert here. So as an accountant, I can tell you the exemption is really high right now, but it's going to sunset in 2026, literally, right? 2025, you can still use it, which means the exemption will go half. Right now is what, 12 million per person?
I think it's $12,675,000 indexing up. By the time we
Thank you for your analytical mind.
Yeah, but it's in excess of 12 million. We anticipate it'll be because it is indexing, we anticipate it's going to be close to 15 million by the end of 2025.
Yeah. So what
we anticipate it's going to crash to 8 million.
I know. That's why I tell most people income tax is really high, but estate tax is even higher. So we need to do plan. And I have younger clients that making 7 figures a year, you very easily will hit that. So planning is very, very important. And the life insurance can be a very useful tool here in many, many aspects. But I don't want to get into too detail on that because this is an introductory thing about why IUL is a good tax strategy, right? I talked a lot about tax already. I think I need to hand over to Bruce, talk about all the other benefits of an IUL, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're back to me. Okay.
So, I'm kicking the ball back to you.
Thank you. IUL, and it's true with most forms of permanent insurance, but we like IUL because of the flexibility and the possible returns, has income protection in case of death. And that's pretty obvious. Just like term insurance and other forms, if you have $1 million face amount life insurance policy in case of death, you're going to get $1 million income tax free. This can help protect your spouse's and your children's lifestyle. Very, very easy, very straightforward. Justine already spoke about taking money out of her own policies. So cash in case of unexpected need. You can pull money out, repay it at very low net cost basis to zero net cost basis. And as you see with some of Lulu's proposals or illustrations, or case study, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
There can be a lot of money accumulated for over time. Next, we always talk about retirement income, and it's tax-free or tax-deferred retirement income. And I think that's a very critical component for many clients because people are loaded up with 401ks, defined benefit, cash balance plans that Justine will talk to you about. They're all taxable. There is a real need for tax-free retirement income. Next.
Yeah. So
Well,
I want to chime in here. One thing is when we are this way, better when we are older, the two things really get us is what? Tax and inflation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can make your retirement income not taxable, you will be very happy you did that planning when you are in your middle of the age.
Right. And personally, I also think you got to look at tax brackets. Long time ago, we all assumed we would be retiring in a very low tax bracket. That's
It's not
the case
happening right
anymore.
now. It's not happening.
Not the case. So again, tax-free or income tax-free income is a great hedge against where the government's going to go with tax rates.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a number of benefits that can be added to a policy. I'm a big advocate on some of these benefits. The first two are long-term care benefits and chronic illness benefits. They are very similar, but operate under two different parts of the tax code, and they're a little different. Long-term care is a tax-qualified product that runs under code 7702A, and forget that now that I said it. But what that means is the benefit qualifies under long-term care guidelines. It's a tax-free benefit. Chronic illness is 101G, which is an advance on life insurance. Again, it is a tax-free benefit. Long-term care tends to be reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
Chronic illness tends to be indemnity, meaning if I have a long-term care benefit of $20,000 a month, which would be very common for what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I go into a facility, I need the benefit, but the facility only costs $6,000, $10,000 a month. That's all the policy is going to give me. The chronic illness would release to me, if I want, the full $20,000.
Mm.
So there's an advantage.
And and I also want to add in here, a lot of states, you know that, right? Adding on the long term, they make you. Washington State is the first state. They are making you to buy long term care policy because the state can simply not shoulder the burden anymore because long term care become a necessary need for what 2/3 of us, right?
70% of us over age 65 are going to need assistance at some point, which would be covered for long-term care.
So Washington State is the first state came up with this law. So if you make a lot of money and you don't have a long-term care policy, you really need to listen up. You will have to pay what 0.58%
58%. 0.58%
of your income.
They don't force you to buy the policy, but they tax you if you don't have it.
Yes.
And that's the important distinction. And long-term care, and Washington State, California is talking about it before the end of the year. Illinois, our resident state, it's being proposed in legislation. I know that there's 13 different states to 18 states that are looking at putting in similar taxation. So having a 7702A long-term care policy will relieve you of that tax burden. The chronic illness benefit, the 101G, doesn't satisfy the state for it. Even though you have it, at least at this time, you may still be subject to that tax. And we've seen a lot of people buy long-term care just to avoid the taxation, particularly younger people that normally wouldn't buy it because it's cheaper than paying the tax.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. So if you make $1 million and you pay that 0.58% tax in Washington, that's $5,800, right?
Yes.
If you use that $5,800 to fund an IUL and build a long-term care rider in there, your rider is almost free because you're young, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and people, you guys have to understand, right? The more money you make, the more tax you pay, and the money goes into a pool. So maybe later on you can use for long-term care. Or would you like to have your own account for that, right, Bruce?
Yeah, we talk about public versus private, and I'd rather be in the private world than the public world. the benefits that Washington State are paying for are minimal, and they're non-transportable. It's a terrible program, but the governments need to do something because they're getting crushed.
Yeah. Because this is a real crisis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have critical illness and terminal illness benefits. Critical illness, they're nice. They're not as important in my mind as long-term care or chronic illness benefits. Basically, if you have a heart attack, they'll give you $25,000. If you have cancer, they'll give you some different amount. And terminal illness is once you get near death and say you have cancer and we can show that you're going to probably pass away in 2 years, the companies will let you accelerate much of that death benefit. And these are pretty standard riders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You guys can tell if we start talking about life insurance, there's no end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really believe it. And I myself have a lot of policies on myself, on my children, on my parents. And at this point, I'm 55 years old. I still don't think I have enough life insurance. It should always be a part of your asset protection, your whole thing. And what's the percentage of your asset allocation should go into IUL? That is your personal decision, but I think it should be a part of it. Right. And the next slide, somehow the slide was going crazy. It was keep going, is a book. So we just heard Professor Bruce talk about IUL. So now I like this book written by David McKnight, talking about look before you lurk. It's basically just talking about what Lulu said. Life, you're buying an IUL is a very long-term commitment. It's almost like engagement, right? And the disclaimer is David does not know I'm doing this, and I'm not getting a penny from it. I read the book. I bought the book for a lot of my clients, and they love it because he used a very simple language to explain a very complicated product. IUL is very, very complicated. Its design there's so many different designs. That is why you got to look for someone who understands this mechanism very, very well. So David said one sentence in there I really love is he says, not all IULs are created equal. So when you are in the market looking into this investment, the most important thing is find the fit product, the fit design that fits your need. So finding a good advisor is as important as finding a good insurance company and a good product, because that advisor is going to put your need, first. That is why I also invited Lulu to share some 2 case studies with us to give you guys a very snapshot of views how these products can be designed very differently to fit different needs. Lulu.
Okay, thanks for Justine and Bruce talk more like details about the IUL features and the concept. So here we prepared 2 case analysis to share with all of you. So our first case, John Smith, 31 years old, male, married. So his household annual income is $200,000, has 1 child. So his current budget, so he also only wanna got annual budget to fund into this product is $5,000. So his primary needs to get a permanent life insurance protection for his family and his own long-term care benefit. So based on his situation, we found one of our representing carriers, John Hancock, as the best fit company, since they have a very unique vitality program to adjust the cost of the insurance while the policy in force. Because this client, he only has a limited cash flow to fund in this product. So we designed this product with a $5,000 annual budget to purchase a 1 million death benefit along with a 1 million long-term care coverage. So we assume he will pay for 30 years payments, with a total $150,000, a total budget here. So here we can see upon his retirement age around 60 years old, this plan still has a very strong cash value of $179,000. So which compares with a funding cost of only $150,000 here. So
it's 193, not 179. So you need the glasses, Lulu.
So upon the age 60, I think the value on the policy is a $179,000.
I'm looking at the end of the 30 year, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, so and then actually compared with the term life insurance, so the term is only can guarantee like a 10 to 30 years protection without any cash value. So even though we designed this product IUL, so it's designed as a protection focus. So if John is very lucky and without triggering any long-term care benefit or death benefit, his policy value still grows very significantly while he's elder. So the projected value in the policy we can see here is around $586,000 at the age 80. So also the cash value will keep growing. So along with the lifetime. So until the policy is a majority, so the accumulation value of the policy will be 7.7 million upon the age 120. So that's a huge
let me summarize. So with $5,000 a year,
Mhm.
he basically will be kind of, if the market is going what we assumed, which I think we used about 6.1, right?
Yeah, 6.1
historical data. Yeah. So if that's the case with, he's going to have the $1 million life insurance, $1 million death benefit,
correct,
while the money is still growing handsomely for him. So if something happens to him early in the life, the family will have the protection. If, he wants to take money out of it for retirement, he has plenty. And if he needs long-term care. So this is a protection-focused IUL design, right?
That's correct. Okay. Thank you, Justine, for summary. And then we can move on to the next analysis. So again, our friend, John Smith. Same background, male, 31 years old, $500,000 annual income. So his currently annual budget to want to fund this plan is $30,000 annually. So his primary needs is to get sufficient and high value of a non-taxable income. So based on his needs, we picked the Mutual of Omaha since it is one of our lowest cost carriers to maximize non-taxable wealth accumulation. So we designed this plan as a $30,000 annual payment for 30 years. The total budget here is only $900,000. So upon his retirement age, around 66, we all can see the cash accumulated value in the policy is around 3.4 million. And then the death benefit coverage, we increase it from original 1 million to 3.8 million here. So let's assume he wants to retirement. So upon the age 66, he can withdraw income almost $60,000 annually non-taxable income. So we just assume he only takes 20 years for the income trend. So along with the 20 years, he already take out 5.2 million for non-taxable income. So let's do the summary here. So only 900,000 investment can get 5.2 million non-taxable income. That should be a huge tax saving strategy reflected in this case. So like Justine and Bruce talked the information.
Yeah. So this case, like the same 31-year-old male, they are all initially buying $1 million life insurance.
Yes.
And the one is only putting in 5,000, one is putting in 30,000. Why? You guys already see the one who put the $30,000 is having so much cash accumulation. It's almost like a cash cow for him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And also another thing from a tax point of view, I will have to say, we maximize the funding on this one, right? Bruce, when we designed it,
we're very close to maximizing the funding on this.
Yeah. So basically the IRS says if you put more money into this product, you are going to hit MAC. And then this is no longer life insurance. It's a pure investment vehicle. and now you have to pay tax. So as your advisor, we want to maximize but not mac. So this way, most of your money will be working for you. A very small portion will be there paying the cost.
Correct.
Yeah. So you guys can see from 5,000 to 30,000, it's not about which policy is better, is which one fits you. And there's a lot in the middle. So one is very much focused on protection. One is very much focused on cash accumulation. None is better. It's what fits you. Yeah, thank you so much, Lulu. Those two are really good extreme comparisons. And we do a lot more design. And like Bruce talked about it, we have 30 companies. We have so many different products. And IUL is definitely not the only thing we recommend clients, but it is the most versatile. Can I say that, Bruce?
Yeah, universal life in general is a very versatile type of product. Yes.
Yeah.
And IUL, we enjoy better than average returns with IUL. IUL's been around since the mid 90s, and it's just been growing the market share since then.
Yeah. I think we are doing well on time control. Pat on myself. I think if anyone is interested in the concept, want further discussion, you guys can schedule a 15-minute free consultation with Lulu, and Bruce and I will jump on the call if it's needed. Lulu will let us know. Lulu is very experienced too in the life insurance, though she looks very young. So she starts when she was 15. So like Bruce, right? You started when you were 15. That's why you did 40 years.
I started doing this at age 25.
20. Oh,
yeah.
Very, very young.
It's been a while.
Yeah. You are a strapping young man then, huh?
I had hair and it wasn't all gray. Yes.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we always do a little bit of a Q&A, right? So let's see. We have 3 questions posted on board. The first one. Hey, Jiaqi, how are you? Oh, these are my clients. Lovely. Okay, I think the first one, probably Bruce. Bruce is really a good expert. Come on, you're going to tackle that one.
Okay, what is it? I don't see a question.
You cannot see? Okay, I can read it.
I'm sorry.
Let me read it for you. Does the loan out interest free on the investment gain portion or the premium portion? I guess this question, I can answer. It's a tax question. Yeah, let me do it. Let me do that. But so the money you put into a IUL is mostly after tax dollar, Jiaqi. And then the gross is tax-free. So the equivalent vehicle is Roth IRA. But we also talked about why it's better than a Roth IRA, right? But I said the most. There is only one possibility you can use pre-tax money to put into an IUL is when you are a small business owner and you are doing a defined benefit program. And we can help you design those two if you are interested. And that is really a double, triple whammy thing. It's very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, Lulu is actually designing quite a few for our clients right now. Yeah. People, now you know how much money they're putting into a retirement?
$300,000, something like that.
$300,000 is the compensation that can be counted, Lulu. But the money they actually put in normally is the $200,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still have a case can put more if the age is too older.
Okay. Yeah. In this case, in the defined benefit case, the older you are, the more money you can put in. Yes. Finally, that's a good one. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, those are good ones.
To be a little more technical, you can withdraw up if you elect to. You can withdraw up to your basis. That's your money. So there's no taxable gain on that. After that, you would take loans, and those loans are typically zero net loans where they don't cost you any real money.
Yeah. The second question is actually, the second question is very, very good, Bruce. This is a question a lot of my clients ask me. When compare IUL and index returns, don't forget IUL has expensive life insurance costs, which may not calculated by policy holders. Is that true? That's a very good question.
There are mortality costs and other costs, but the gain is you're not paying tax on the growth. And we do this with Lulu all the time. We can run, particularly with like Mutual of Omaha, we show all the expenses, the internal expenses. Mortality charges, especially on a younger individual, are very low, hundreds of dollars.
Yes.
So they're not that much of a drag.
Let me tackle it too. Bruce, thank you for your answer. So my answer is threefold. First, there are charges. And like Bruce said, when we do our illustration, we show you the charges. We don't hide it. And that is why we picked MOO for that accumulation person. We want the least possible cost, so the more money is working for you. The second of all Lulu's illustrations already including current charges.
Correct.
So it's not like we're doing it in the vacuum. Okay. The third one is this. The mortality charge that Bruce talking about is not a cost that going out of the water. Okay. It is buying you life insurance, the protection. And you really have to pay that cost because if it's not a life insurance, you're not going to get the tax benefit. So it's something coming with it.
Yes.
So the only thing you need to watch out is the insurance companies' administrative costs. And nobody's going to do this for free for you, right? But again, I'm going to use Bruce's word. You comparing that with the tax saving, it's peanuts. I think I answered your question. The last question of the day, we're going to close shop, is why do you like long-term care? Do you have any personal stories about long-term care? I have some, but I'm sure Bruce has more because he's older than me.
Yes, I'm older than you. Ancient.
I don't think Lulu has any yet, right?
Yeah, not yet.
We all have personal stories. Unfortunately, I'm the last one standing in my family. My sister and both my parents have passed away. And all three of them had long-term care needs that were rather expensive before they passed away. Statistically, boring, but 70% of us that make it to age 65 are going to need long-term care kind of assistance, or you're going to be on claim at some point in time. So frankly, I think in many cases, long-term care is more valuable and more important than the life insurance policy itself. I've seen more families destroyed by not having good long-term care policies available than massive life insurance policies. So I think it's a balanced part of your overall portfolio, and I don't want to get into my sister churned her way through millions before she ended up passing away. It put a lot of stress on the family. So I'm a big advocate of long-term care.
I can chime in right there too. Though I'm not that old yet, but I have people around me or my clients. The thing I want to say is this puts so much stress, not just on the person, it's more their children. They put so much stress on the children. Yeah. And the way I looked at it is they really have to exhaust all their assets before the state will take care of them. And yes. The medical insurance is not covering that. Medicare does not cover it. None of these covers it, right? So what happens to me is because I see so many of my clients talking to me about their parents. I give you one very good example. I just turned 55. My birthday was last Tuesday. And then my whole morning, I didn't work that day, was talking to all my friends in China on WeChat because my morning is their night. And they are wishing me happy birthday. And most of us are empty nesters now because our children all, gone to college and all the good stuff. So, hey, this is time to travel. I said, why don't you come to Chicago? And all of them, their answer was, no, we cannot travel because we're taking care of our parents. It's every one of them, either a father, a mother, or it's either the wives or the husbands, someone is, and they have to be there all the time. They cannot leave them alone. And, it's, especially in Chinese culture, we don't put our parents in nursing homes, right? That's a cultural thing. If you do, you're really going to be, everyone is going to say a lot of bad things about you. That's a cultural thing. But for me to close this, I want to tell you, this is my own life story. And Bruce is the one who helped me design my policy. I had a lot of life insurances. I had term, VUL, IUL, whole life. I had all of them. At different time of my life, I bought those policies. When I turned 50, I have 3 kids. a lot of you guys know, and I was a single mother for a very long period of time. So my main focus is protection, was worried about if something happened to me, what's going to happen to my kids. I want them to have a good life, to have a good start in life. When I hit 50, I had this conversation with Bruce. At that moment, my biggest worry is not if I die, is if I don't die. I don't die naturally, right? I had to use some long, like I'm sick. Do I really want my kids to drop whatever they are doing and come and help me? No. I want a policy that's going to help me with that. So we designed a policy. We did a GUL then, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did a GUL was nationwide.
Yes.
So this is not even IUL, but if you're asking for long-term care. So now I'm rest assured, if something happened to me, I do not need to ask one of my children to stop their career pursuit or whatever their happiness, pursuit, to come say, hey, you got to take care of mama. Mama took care of you. I know this is like mostly the Chinese culture, but we can step up and use little money to protect ourselves from that. Last word of the day, I always say this: insurance, nobody knows they have insurance when everything is going beautifully. What? Insurance? I don't know. When things goes bad, insurance is everything you have.
Yes.
Can I make it add a little something? I have a number of very, very wealthy clients, as you do. And quite often they'll come back and they'll talk about self-insuring for long-term care. I'm a multimillionaire. I can buy the nursing home. I don't need to worry about this. I can spend my own money. And I hear that on a fairly regular basis. I had a very wise client that ended up saying, why would I want to use my own money? But more importantly, the long-term care providers have an 800 number for my kids to call. They don't have to find a visiting nurse for me. They can make that 800 call and they will find one for me. So to have a professionally managed long-term care portfolio versus having to take my busy child, who may not even be in state, because we're in America now and everybody's all over the place.
They are also out of the country. 2 of my kids are out of the country right now.
Right. Yeah. So, but having that professionally managed product and the resources of a multi-billion-dollar insurance company behind you to help you manage this is actually very, very important. Even if you have great wealth and technically you can pay for it yourself, you don't want to have to do that.
Okay, time is up. Thank you for the good conclusion, and thank you for your case sharing, Lulu. You are really, you are the newcomer. You are the rising star. And Bruce, thank you again for your precious time for helping me, an old friend. And all my friends, we are your advisor, and we're helping you to execute better strategies. You will all get the recording of this webinar, and we'll also post it on YouTube, so you can share with your friends if you think, and give us feedbacks. We want to do more English webinars. I want to do them, because I love my childhood dreams to become a professor. So I failed. Now I want to realize my dream in this venue. Okay, thank you all, and have the great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.